I want to tell you a story. So about 7 weeks ago, I had an embarrassing experience with a girl that left me feeling kind of insecure about my physique and my progress in the gym, right? So I'm on a date with this girl and it's actually a gym date. So I drive up to the city and we go to her gym and we hit leg day. And after leg day, we go to the park. So I drive her to a nearby park and we walk around. And I'm kind of escalating, so I like grab her hand, we hold hands, and we kiss, and then we start making out and stuff like that, right? At one point, I remember picking her up, spinning her around, and putting her down, just because it felt like the right thing to do, right? When I did that, she turns to me, she takes her arms, she puts them around my waist, and she picks me up and holds me in the air. Okay? And I remember her asking in kind of like a questioning, curious tone, like, how much do you weigh? I told her, well, okay, last time I weighed myself, I was around 175. And she goes, wow, you're light. The thing is, that didn't make me feel insecure just because 175 is an unreasonable weight for someone my age and height. It's not. But I had been bulking for 4 continuous years before that. I'm a hard gainer, and when I started my weightlifting journey, I weighed 135. Within the first year, I weighed, I think like 155 or something like that, and I've spent the rest of 3 years, trying to get to, well, where I was at 170, 175, roughly, right? But it's very difficult for me to gain weight. So sometimes it's inconsistency, sometimes it's other factors, but like it's very, very difficult for me to gain weight. Most people go through a season where they bulk up a lot for like 3 months, and then they cut down. Not me. I couldn't do that. When she said that, when she said, wow, you're light, it reminded me of this pain point that I had, where I couldn't gain enough weight, where I was always going to be kind of like around victim weight, depending on what you classify as victim weight, right? But it was definitely lighter than I wanted to be. After 4 weeks, I gained 14 pounds. And this video is how I did that, the protocol that I followed, so that you can follow it as well, if you were in the same position as me. After that date, it kind of like broke something in me, right? I kept ruminating on that pain point, on that insecurity that I had tried to gain a bunch of weight and I hadn't been able to. My goal since the beginning of my lifter journey was to weigh 180 pounds at least, and I'd never hit that in the 4 years of lifting. After she said that, all that I could think about was that. One day, not long after that, it was like next weekend, I drive down to a bookstore because I run this channel and I want to learn more about weightlifting so that I can provide you with value and you get results too. So you should subscribe to me, by the way. And I see this book. It's actually this book right here, The 4-Hour Body. When I go into the fitness section, that's the first book I see. Now, I'll actually show you a bit closer. The reason this stood out was because I had read Timothy Ferriss's, that's the author, Timothy Ferriss. I had read his other book, The 4-Hour Workweek, which is a bestseller and very, very popular. It's about entrepreneurship. And I really enjoyed that book, and so I knew that book would be filled with value. So instantly I knew that was the book that I was going home with that day. I bought it, I opened it up, and I turned to the section on mass gain, lean mass gain, muscle mass gain. I read the entire section, implemented the 4-week program that was outlined in the book, and in 4 weeks, just 4 weeks, I gained 14 pounds. That's more than I've gained in entire years of attempting to bulk. So that was probably more than the past 2 years of lifting combined. Isn't that insane sounding? And here's the thing, the protocol that I followed, that I'm about to outline for you, word for word what the book says so that you can implement it and get results similar to these is foolproof. It's flawless. And I know that because, well, A, it makes sure that it's foolproof. And B, if it should be impossible for anyone, it should be impossible for me. It's nearly impossible for me to gain weight at a consistent, steady, powerful rate like that. I'm an extremely hard gainer. Nothing should work for me, okay? So I promise you, whether you're a hard gainer or not, this will work for you. There's no excuses, there's no like, you're not gonna be a special snowflake and this isn't gonna work for you. It's very easy to make those excuses, by the way, if you like, oh, you know, that won't work for me because of XYZ reason. Just listen, try and learn something, implement what I teach you, and I promise you, if you do it correctly as I teach you, it will work for you. But you have to make sure that your actions are in line with the protocol. And listen, I say that too because like, I can't provide you with value. I can't provide you with, I can't, you know, force you to like me so that you subscribe to me if you don't pay attention and implement what I teach you. That's the only way that this YouTube channel is, you know, going to work, is if I provide you with value and get you actual results. So I'm gonna need you to kind of trust me, pay attention, and implement. So let's get into it. First of all, the exercise section. Exercise is actually very, very light. It's the lightest part. You're going to have to use discipline to not exercise more because you're going to feel like it. So there's some ground rules to exercise because this is not the traditional way to exercise. I'd never heard of anyone else speak of this method of exercising before I read this book. So I can guarantee that you haven't either. First of all, every exercise is just one set. That's ground rule number one. Number two, you need consistent 3-minute rests between everything, all sets. Consistent 3-minute rests. Number three, the target number of reps is just the minimum. Okay, so after the minimum, you will continue on until failure. Every single set until failure. And absolute failure, by the way, which is different from normal failure. Absolute failure means, so normal failure is where you push up the weight and then when you feel you don't have another rep in the tank, you drop the weight. You're like, I don't have another rep, so I'm gonna drop the weight and put it down. That's normal failure. Absolute failure is far more powerful. Absolute failure is where, whether or not you have another rep, you keep pushing. So you push the weight up millimeter by millimeter until your muscles like give out, like they physically can't anymore. Sometimes you'll get an extra rep, which is extremely valuable. That's really good. But whether you do or not, even if you don't have another rep, you're going to keep pushing until eventually the weight like goes down, goes down, goes down, and you'll hold at the bottom until you can't anymore. That is absolute failure, and that's what we need to initiate in order to trigger the proper growth response in our muscles, because that's what this is all about, okay? So that's maybe the most important ground rule, is you have to go until absolute failure. If you've never gone to failure before, it can seem kind of scary, but you need to mentally like prep yourself to just do it anyways. Like, your mind will quit before your body does. So ignoring like how bad it feels in your head, just push until you can't anymore. And then ground rule number 4, every rep should use a 5-5 cadence. So this will be extremely difficult. A 5-5 cadence means 5 seconds going up and 5 seconds going down. You're not going to pause on the up or on the down, but you're going to spend 5 seconds going up and 5 seconds going down. This will be extremely difficult to do because your mind is kind of active and it's in like, what would you call that? Like attack mode with the weight. Time is going to seem like it's going slower than it actually is. I don't know if I ever actually achieved a 5-5 cadence perfectly on any of my lifts. I do know I got close, probably about 4-4, so like 4 seconds, but it's very hard to not rush it. You have to use a lot of physical discipline to slow the weight down, but it's extremely valuable because what we're aiming for is time under tension with this. Time under tension is one of the factors that's going to contribute most to muscle growth, and so we need to make these reps count by maximizing time under tension. So as best you can, you need to stick to a 5-5 rep cadence. It's going to be hard again, but you have to do it. And then ground rule 5, you must increase by 5 pounds or 10 pounds every single time you perform an exercise. That means every single day we are trying to progressively overload. All of these ground rules will be very difficult to implement, but it's very important that you do. You're probably going to feel like the exercise is too short. It's going to be like, for me, I only had 3 exercises, right? So that was essentially just 3 sets. So you're going to feel like it's too short, and like your workout's gonna be like 15 minutes. You're gonna be like, oh, there's no way that was enough exercise, right? This is normal. Just remember this: we're trying to keep it short but intense. The idea behind this is we want to work out extremely intensely to flip the muscle growth trigger, right? And then we want to stop and let that process work. We don't get anything if we extend the workout to a bunch of exercises and, have it take a long time, because oftentimes like that's not working out intensely enough. You can experiment with this. I kind of near the end of the protocol, I added some more exercises into my routine, but I kept them at the 1 set mark, and I made sure I did my cadence and everything like that. So, but generally you're supposed to feel like you need to do more exercise per workout, okay? Try to refrain from doing so. Just focus on the intensity of the existing sets. Next, okay, so the actual routine is an A-B split with increasing rest days throughout the protocol. What does that mean? An A-B split with increasing rest days means we have 2 exercise days, right? Both of them are full body. Both of them have different exercises within them for some variation, okay? In between them, there's a set number of rest days. You start at 2 rest days. So in the beginning, it's going to be workout A, rest day 1, rest day 2, workout B. And then you have another 2 rest days, and then you repeat, right? Except as you go through the protocol, as you go through the 4 weeks, you increase the number of rest days between each exercise, right? And the logic behind this is very simple, okay? As your muscles grow, they're going to need more time to repair themselves. A muscle that has a bigger volume, right? So a muscle that can push 20 pounds of weight on something is going to need more rest to repair, to recover, more time to recover than a muscle that can only push 10 pounds, because that muscle is smaller, right? It's got smaller volume. So that's the logic on this. You're going to have to increase the amount of rest as the protocol goes on. The way that you increase it is this. So you'll increase +1 rest days every time you either, on one of your workouts, you fail the minimum number of reps on 2 exercises, okay? So as I said, we're going to failure every single set, right? But if you should have a minimum, right? It should be like a minimum of 7 reps. If you don't hit that minimum, that means you've actually failed that set. Not like failed as in I went to a failure. That means like you failed, you weren't strong enough, you didn't achieve that. If you fail, like actually fail, on 2 exercises, more than 1, then that means you need more rest, and you need to increase the amount of rest days between workouts. Or if you perform 4 workouts consecutively without adding any more rest days between them. So if you have the starting 2 rest days, right? And you do workout A, 2 rest days, workout B, 2 rest days, workout A, 2 rest days, workout B, 2 rest days, and you haven't failed technically. But if you've hit 4 workouts, add another rest day. So now you're up to 3 rest days between workouts. This will feel like too much rest. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's going to feel really, really weird. It's going to, if you're someone like me, I love working out 6 days a week. You're going to have to actually like exercise discipline more than you actually exercise. You're going to have to use discipline to restrain yourself from adding more workout days in there, okay? I hated this. This went against every fiber of my being because I'm a big consistency guy. I believe in that stuff. And you might be too if you're kind of a gym rat like me. just follow the protocol to a T. I did, it ended up getting me a bunch of weight, so it works, I promise you. If you feel like you need to increase the amount of exercise, or you notice like you're not making enough progress in the gym, I would say increase the intensity of the workout days, not the number of workout days or lowering the amount of rest. So what that means is instead of, okay, now I'm going to lower the rest days to just one rest day because I don't feel like this is enough exercise. Instead of that, just during the exercise days, make sure you're working out far more intensely. So perhaps ensure you're doing the 5-5 cadence. Maybe you weren't before, or maybe you need to go till failure more. Maybe you find out that you're actually not quite pushing as hard as you could. Or maybe if both of those things are covered, you add like an extra exercise in there just to like get a little bit of extra work. Something like that. Focus on the intensity. Remember, we're trying to keep it short and intense, short and sweet. We're not trying to overload ourselves with a bunch of volume from the exercises. I don't know why this works, by the way. I love volume. I love it, I promise you. I would not be lying to you with this. If there's any way I could say, no, this is actually wrong and you should do more exercise, I would be. But I can't. This works for some reason. I don't know why. Next. Yeah, so, okay, I need to go over the bike shed effect. Remember how we talked about how this will feel wrong? It will feel horribly wrong, and it will seem horribly wrong to others, both the exercise portion and the diet, okay? I'm gonna go over diet in a second. It will seem wrong to others as well. The bike shed effect is, in order to kind of illustrate it, let's compare two conversations, okay? Conversation about how to build a nuclear power plant versus how to build a bike shed, right? Most people correctly assume they have no idea how to build a nuclear power plant, and so they keep their noses out of it. They don't share their opinion on a nuclear power plant because they don't know the first thing about building a nuclear power plant, right? However, most people incorrectly assume that they know too much about exercise and diet and training and stuff like that. In the same way, people will share their opinions, overshare their opinions about exercise and diet, even though they don't know how it actually works, right? They're not that smart. They don't have all that information, but they'll share their opinion gladly. If people hear about the protocol that I'm telling you right now, they will criticize it. I can guarantee it. You can tell it to someone right now. You can say, hey, I heard about this weird protocol. Actually, you should probably do that right now. After the video, you should go, hey, I heard about this weird protocol that restricts your exercise, so you only exercise like a couple times per week. And then you do the diet thing, which I'm going to cover in a second. I can guarantee that they will go, there's no way that works. That's so weird. You're going to get fat or you're not going to get strong. I promise you, my family did this the entire time that I was doing this protocol, the entire time, okay? It shut them up when I actually started gaining a fuck ton of weight. It shut them right the hell up. No offense to my family, I love my family. But avoid bike shed conversations. Avoid those kind of conversations. Just stay out of it if possible. I couldn't because I was also taking my brothers to the gym, so they noticed when I restricted my exercise. But if possible, just avoid the conversations, or like politely nod, smile and nod, and pretend to agree with them, but just like don't internalize what they teach you. Okay? I promise you, this guy knows what the fuck he's talking about. Whether you believe me or not, he knows what the fuck he's talking about, and my results speak for themselves. I can guarantee if you follow this, you will achieve the same results. Okay? You will achieve similar or the same results. You just need to trust it, okay? Listen to others, but act on your own. So that's the bike shed effect. Avoid bike shed conversations at all costs. Okay, now eating. Eating is the real chore of the protocol. That's the meat of it, no pun intended. This protocol won't work if you don't eat enough. It just doesn't work. Some people don't have to track calories, okay? Some people can just eat and gain weight, eat more, gain weight. If you're like me, you have to track calories. I recommend you do, whether you have to or not. Actually, he does not recommend tracking calories. He says it shouldn't be necessary. Whatever he says, I know it works for me because anytime I don't track my calories, I normally don't hit my goal. And anytime I do track my calories, I ordinarily see some improvements. So I would recommend it. It doesn't cost you anything. Go to your phone, go to the App Store and download MyFitnessPal. It's a very popular dieting app and exercise app, right? Set up an account on there and set your goal weight to something that is higher than where you are now, maybe a bit like higher than even what you think is realistic, okay? Because it'll like calculate the calories and the macros so that you gain a certain amount of weight each week, and we're gonna try and gain more weight than that each week. So yeah, but just make sure it's something generous, right? And then track every single meal. This is gonna be kind of difficult at first. It's going to seem inconvenient, but I promise you it's so worth it. It's very simple to do. You just log a food in the app, log everything. You search it up, it has a big database full of everything, and you can log all of it. It's very, very important that you log everything consistently throughout the entire protocol. Try to have 0 off days where you don't track anything, because when you don't track something, that leaves more room for error, more room to assume you're eating more calories, more macros than you actually are. I say that just because I know the way I am. For some reason, whatever I don't track always seems to go against me, and whatever I do track seems to go for me. And you might be the same way. No matter how unimportant it seems to track stuff, just commit to tracking everything for the 4 weeks that you do the protocol, next 4 weeks, or whenever you decide to start. I believe there was exactly 2 days where I didn't track anything. And it was simply because it was out of whack with what I'm normally doing. I think it was at a party for one. I didn't track dinner, but I had a lot of cake and beer and food and stuff like that. And so I knew I got plenty of calories. And then one day I did I think it was a road trip or something like that. Those are the only 2 days that I didn't track, and that I can name them is impressive. That means I did track a fuck ton, and you need to as well. You should pay close attention to the macros over calories. Calories can be deceptive. It can make you think you're getting enough micronutrients and macronutrients than you actually are. Near the beginning, I found this out, for myself. In the beginning, I wasn't eating enough carbs. I was eating enough calories, by the way. I was hitting my calorie goal every single day, but I wasn't gaining weight. So one day, I think it was 4 days in or something, I flip over to the macros tab to check. Maybe there's some clue there as to why I'm not gaining weight. Lo and behold, I was hitting my protein goal every single day. I was actually blowing past it, getting sometimes near twice the protein goal. But I was not getting my carb goal every single day. In fact, some days I wasn't hitting even 50% of my carb goal, which is crazy. And so the fix to that was, of course, add less protein in my diet and more carb items. And that fixed it straight up, and I started gaining weight. So it's very valuable to track your macros. I hate tracking data too. I'm a retard that likes to do things a simple way, but I promise you it would be valuable to you. The number of meals that you eat every single day is completely up to you. Some people like eating more meals, but with smaller portions, and some people like eating larger meals with fewer meals throughout the day. I just ate 3 meals throughout the day, sometimes 4. I'll have a bowl of oatmeal on rest days, and it worked perfectly fine. So I can safely say that both work. One is not better than the other. But if you prefer to eat more meals with smaller portions, then that could be a bit easier to stick to. You won't feel like you're stuffing your face, but just whatever's more convenient, do. If you don't have as much time, bigger meals could be your fix. If you have more time, but you find it harder to get food down, just eat more meals with smaller portions. It's not like one is better than the other. Just do whatever is most convenient for you. There's a morning routine you need to follow for this. Every single morning, A, log your weight, step on the scale before you do anything else, don't drink water or anything. Log your weight on the scale every single morning and log that into MyFitnessPal. That's another feature. That's why it's so valuable to have. Log your weight every single morning, okay? And B, drink a high protein smoothie that I'm about to tell you the recipe of, okay? So the recipe for this smoothie is go to the blender and you're going to mix 3 cups of milk, 3 tablespoons of almond butter, 1 banana, 30 gram of whey protein isolate, and 5 ice cubes, as well as I put in whatever supplements I was gonna eat for that morning, take for that morning, into that smoothie, blend it up, drink it. It'll be roughly like 900 calories or something like that. This is extremely important because you get a lot of calories in first thing in the morning. If you skip breakfast, the shake is doubly important. I know a lot of guys like to skip breakfast. They hate how it like feels when they eat solid food in the morning. They kind of like sick or whatever. This fixes that, okay? Because this introduces actual calories, liquid calories first thing. And liquid calories are, of course, easier to consume than solid calories. So that's what I would do every single morning. Log my weight, drink that smoothie, and then I would do my stuff like shower, do my morning routine, and things like that. Follow that every single morning, and that alone might help you to gain weight if it's like easy for you to gain weight. Simply adding that smoothie in. It didn't for me, but it definitely pushed me in the right direction. Now let's talk about the diet. So the diet is very simple, okay? You're just going to collect several different sources of carbs and proteins and then cook them together, mix and match, and portion correctly to make meals. For protein, this means stuff like eggs, chicken, ground beef, salmon, ground turkey, etc., right? Find a good protein source. And then for carbs, brown rice, black beans, sweet potatoes, lentils, and quinoa, stuff like that. Or whatever else that you prefer, your preferred source of carbs and protein. As well as whatever else you want to mix in there. You can mix in some spinach, vegetables, stuff like that. The fixer for this protocol is GOMAD, or gallon of milk per day. So this fixed weight gain for me. I was drinking a little over 2 liters of milk per day between meals, and that helped a lot with weight gain. If the previous diet and the shake are not working and you're not gaining at least 2.5 pounds per week, add an additional liter of milk per day, up to 4 liters until you begin gaining weight, right? So it's not quite GOMAD, but we're increasing our intake up to GOMAD, up to a gallon per day. The book recommends an additional liter per day each week, so adding another one each week, normally in the shake, and keeping an eye on fat gain, because fat gain can accelerate a lot, because of course you're drinking a lot of milk, right? At one point during the protocol, I realized I was not gaining any weight, even though I was hitting on my calorie goals and drinking the shake and doing everything right. So I had to start adding milk to my diet, and I found that a little over 2 liters every day worked. So there's 3 cups in the shake, and then I had 2 big glasses between breakfast and lunch and dinner, but that's all with 3 cups of milk each. So that was a little over 2 liters per day, and that helped a lot with the weight gain. So at one point when I hit my goal about halfway through the week of 180 pounds, I realized how powerful this whole milk thing was, because I decided I wanted to cool it on the milk a little bit because I could tell my body fat percentage was going up. And so I was going to like reduce the amount of milk that I was intaking, because I'd already hit my goal of 180 pounds. And so I was like, all right, well now I just want to make sure I'm lean, right? So I stopped drinking all that milk, and guess what happened? I lost weight. So I woke up like the next morning and I was under 180 pounds. And it went down the next day as well. And so I added milk back in to gain weight again. That's how powerful this milk thing is. That's how powerful it is. And that's also why I say this protocol is foolproof, because even if the calories in the shake and stuff don't help you to gain weight, this milk will. You just add milk until you begin gaining weight. That's why I know that this protocol is foolproof. So now I'll explain these supplements that I took just for informational purposes. I don't know if I should recommend these to you, because I don't know how much of a factor all of these were, but you know, it's important that I tell you. So for the protocol, I was taking, well, first of all, I was taking creatine monohydrate, right? So like 5 grams a day. Creatine monohydrate, that of course is gonna lead to a bunch of weight gain. So I definitely think you should take this. By the way, if you're gonna go on this protocol, creatine monohydrate is one of the biggest, the most studied supplements in the fitness industry. It's very, very safe. Just take it as instructed. I don't think you need to do a loading phase, by the way. Just take creatine. I took alpha lipoic acid, 300 milligrams, which is one of these before each meal. The purpose of alpha lipoic acid is absorption. Alpha lipoic acid reduces the amount of, how can I say this in a sort of bro science way? So when you eat calories, it can either go to fat or to muscle, right? Alpha lipoic acid does something with your body to sort of like nudge it away from going to fat and more towards muscle. If that, that's the very simplistic explanation, but that's what that's for. I had some of this, Cissus quadrangularis. Will it focus? Cissus, however you say that last part, quadrangularis. That is another fat loss one, but it also has muscle mass gain properties as well. Not very widely researched. I don't know how much science there is behind it. He says it works, so I took it. I don't know how much an effect it had during the protocol, but I definitely took it. And then I took L-glutamine. So L-glutamine is primarily used for intestinal repair, but for the purposes of this protocol, I was using it for food absorption and insulin sensitivity, which are both very important for nutrient uptake, right? So I was taking 5 grams of creatine monohydrate per day. I was taking, at the beginning I was taking 80 milligrams of this per day, 80 grams, excuse me, per day. In like, I was spreading it out across the day. So I was spreading across a couple of doses. It was like 3 or 4 doses until I got to about 80 milligrams per day, if I could remember. Sometimes it would fall short. It'd be like 60 or 40. And then after 5 days, I stopped the use of L-glutamine, by the way, which is what the book recommends. And then alpha lipoic acid and Cissus quadrangularis. So I was taking this 300 milligrams before every meal, as I mentioned, and this I was taking 2,400 milligrams 3 times per day. So it's a lot of milligrams. Those are the supplements that I took during this protocol. And that's basically it. It's kind of a complicated protocol, but it's definitely one that works. Just follow it for 4 weeks and you will see a lot of mass gain. And some notes for success, okay? First of all, you might feel sick at first eating so much, but you'll quickly get used to eating higher volumes of food. So especially if you're like not used to eating a lot, you have poor appetite, you're gonna feel sick when you eat as much as you actually should be for weight gain. After a while, your stomach will actually adapt to it and you'll sort of feel like ravenous, like hungry, like I did. I was literally like, after a few days, I started to get like really, really hungry when I didn't have copious amounts of food pouring into my system. So it actually does get easier to eat more, just, you know, hold out. It'll be hard, but definitely push through. You should commit to the 4 weeks at the start. You probably have doubts or feel like it's not worth it or it's not working and stuff like that. But you just need to, at the start, just commit to the 4 weeks and decide to do everything right. Decide to follow it like to a T, and the results will come. You need to have faith that they will. You should write out a meal and supplement plan and keep it with you at all times. On my phone, I wrote out a meal plan. I already knew my supplements in my head. It wasn't that complicated. But on my phone, I had a meal plan. I had several different meals written out, so I always had something like I knew I was going to make. Keep that on you. Open your notes app, kind of write that out. That's very important before you start the protocol if you plan on starting it. Write out everything, write out a plan, keep it on you. And I think it's a good idea to keep stuff accessible and available to you. I had a backpack where I kept all of my supplements, so in case plans changed or whatever, I could always, take my supplements no matter what. I think a gym buddy is important to push you and really also spot your exercises. It's very hard to go intensely. It really is. And if you don't have a spot, you really shouldn't perform certain lifts, right? So yeah, it's very important to have a gym buddy that can be super powerful. Just make sure they're not make sure they're not messing with the rest time, because the rest time is supposed to stay at 3 minutes consistently between everything. And also make sure they're not assisting you too much if they're spotting you. Like, for example, if you're doing bench press, don't let them do assisted reps with the bar, or grab the bar and then put it back. Make them wait until the bar hits your chest so they know, absolute failure, right? That's what we talked about. To keep it simple, there are only two things you need to focus on during this protocol. And that is, one, that you're triggering muscle mass growth through your exercise. That's why it's so important to train intensely, to go until absolute failure and have that 5-5 rep cadence, because that will really trigger the biological processes involved with muscle mass gain. And B, you need to make sure you have enough rest and nutrients in order to support muscle mass gain. This is why rest is so prioritized in this protocol. This is why food is so prioritized in this protocol. So that's the gist of this program, is reducing the time you exercise, increasing intensity, and increasing rest and nutrients. That's the basic gist of it, I don't know if you need to do all the complicated stuff. You might not need to take the supplements. They could be helpful, but you might not need to take them. You might not need to track calories, but just keep in mind those two principles that are so important to what this program really is. I don't really have any final notes, except it will feel amazing when you hit your goal weight. I know it felt amazing when I hit mine. It felt like I had finally done it. Something that I had always wanted to do from the very start. I was never, halfway through my lifter journey, I wasn't sure if I was able to do, actually. And when I stepped on the scale that morning and I saw that I weighed 180 pounds first thing in the morning, I was like, hell yeah, I've done it. It feels good. I recommend buying this book. It's extremely valuable. You can support the author. And we love knowledge here on this channel. So yeah, invest in yourself, buy that book. It's extremely valuable. That's all. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments. I'll do my best to reply. And you have an amazing day. Oh, go subscribe. And the top link in the description is my full program. If you liked this, learned something from this, and you want some more. But yeah, go subscribe, because that's free. It's a win-win for both of us. I win because I get a new subscriber. You win because it's my new thought, insight, learn something new. I can make a video and directly give you value, just like this one. Have an amazing day, and bye.